They ask for this, but it costs you everything. Low, intense tone, slight pause. There are things you can give, and there are things you should never give, no matter how much you feel, no matter how much you want to please, no matter how much they ask. A Stoic man understands one thing clearly. Not everything requested deserves to be given. Slow breath, calm expression. Number 1. Never give away your self-respect. Firm tone. The moment you start lowering your standards just to keep someone in your life, you begin to disappear. You laugh at what you don't find funny. You accept behavior you once said you'd never tolerate. You say, "It's okay," when it isn't. Pause, serious look. That is not love. That is quiet self-abandonment. Respect is not something you negotiate. It is something you carry. A Stoic man would rather walk alone than stay where he is not valued. Slight nod. Number 2. Never give constant validation. Controlled tone. If someone constantly needs reassurance from you, and you keep feeding it, you create dependency, not connection. You text first every time. You compliment endlessly. You prove your worth over and over again. Slight smirk. But here's the truth. The more you try to prove your value, the less valuable you appear. Silence creates curiosity. Presence creates impact. You don't need to announce your worth. You live it. Pause. Number 3. Never give your time without purpose. Serious, grounded tone. Time is your most valuable asset. When you give it freely to someone who doesn't respect it, you're telling them your life has no direction. You cancel your plans. You rearrange your priorities. You become available, at all times. Slow head shake. That is not strength. That is lack of boundaries. A disciplined man protects his time. He gives it intentionally, not emotionally. Because once time is gone, it never returns. Deep pause. Number 4. Never give control over your emotions. Calm, powerful tone. If someone can easily make you angry, they control you. If someone can make you anxious, they control you. If someone can make you desperate, they control you. Look directly, firm expression. And a man who is controlled cannot lead his own life. Stoicism teaches emotional discipline. Not suppression, but mastery. You feel everything. But you react to nothing impulsively. You observe. You understand. And then, you respond with control. Slow exhale. Number 5. Never give everything too soon. Measured tone. In today's world, people rush everything. They reveal all their feelings instantly. They invest fully, without understanding who they're dealing with. They give 100 to someone who hasn't earned 10. Pause, slight intensity. And then they wonder why the interest fades. Mystery builds attraction. Patience builds respect. Time reveals truth. When you give everything too quickly, you remove the need to discover you. A Stoic man understands timing. He allows things to grow, naturally. Soft tone. Because what is built slowly lasts longer. Pause, calmer voice. Understand this. You are not here to impress. You are not here to chase approval. You are not here to lose yourself just to keep someone. You are here to build strength. To live with purpose. To become a man who chooses, not one who begs. Firm tone. And when you stop giving away what should be protected, everything changes. Your presence becomes rare. Your words carry weight. Your silence speaks louder than effort. Slight nod. Calm, steady tone. When you begin to live this way, something shifts inside you. You stop reacting to every message. Pause. You stop overthinking every small change in behavior. You stop chasing explanations and start observing patterns. Slight nod. Because a Stoic man doesn't get lost in words, he watches actions. Never give endless chances without accountability. Firm tone. Everyone makes mistakes. That's human. But repeated disrespect is not a mistake, it's a pattern. If you keep forgiving the same behavior, you're not being kind, you're being permissive. Serious expression. And what you allow will continue. Set your boundaries once. Reinforce them with action. If they're crossed again, you don't argue. You adjust your presence. Silence is often the strongest response. Never give your purpose away for attention. Grounded tone. A distracted man is an ineffective man. When your focus shifts from your goals to constant communication, approval, and emotional highs, you lose direction. Pause. Your mission should never be secondary. Because the moment you make someone else the center of your life, you become an option in theirs. Stay focused. Build your path. Let people complement your life, not consume it. Never give reassurance to insecurity that refuses to grow. Calm but firm. Support is good. Encouragement is necessary. But if someone constantly doubts themselves and rejects every reassurance you give, you cannot fix that. Slow head shake. Because insecurity that refuses growth will drain even the strongest person. A stoic man understands this. You can guide, but you cannot carry. People must choose to grow on their own. Never give reactions to emotional tests. Slight intensity. Sometimes, people test your patience. They pull away. They act distant. They say things to provoke a reaction. Pause, composed look. And if you react emotionally every time, you failed the test. Control is shown in restraint. When you stay calm, when you don't chase confusion, when you don't beg for clarity, you show strength. Not everything deserves your response. Softer tone, reflective. At the core of all this is one principle. Protect your inner peace. Because once your mind is disturbed, everything else begins to fall apart. Your focus weakens. Your emotions fluctuate. Your decisions become reactive. Slow inhale. And that is how people lose control of their lives, quietly. Firm, grounded voice. A stoic man chooses differently. He chooses discipline over impulse. He chooses silence over unnecessary words. He chooses self-respect over temporary connection. Pause. He understands that not everyone deserves access to him. And not everything deserves a reaction from him. Slight nod, calm confidence. When you stop giving away what weakens you, you naturally become stronger. Not louder. Not harsher. Just more controlled. And that control is what sets you apart. Final calm tone. Calm, steady presence. There is another truth most people avoid. You teach people how to treat you. Pause. Not through what you say, but through what you tolerate. Every time you ignore disrespect, you silently approve it. Every time you overextend yourself, you set a new expectation. Firm look. And over time, that expectation becomes your reality. Never give your energy to confusion. Measured tone. If someone's actions don't match their words, believe the actions. If their presence feels inconsistent, if their effort feels uncertain, pause. Do not chase clarity. Confusion is not a puzzle you're meant to solve. It is a signal you're meant to recognize. A stoic man doesn't beg for understanding. He steps back and lets truth reveal itself. Never give your peace for temporary excitement. Serious tone. Not everything that feels intense is good for you. Some connections are built on chaos. High highs and low lows. Slow head shake. That is not passion. That is instability. Peace may feel unfamiliar at first, but it is the foundation of a strong life. Protect it. Even if it means walking away from something that feels good, but isn't good for you. Never give your identity to someone else's approval. Firm, grounded tone. The moment your confidence depends on how someone sees you, you lose control over your own self-image. You start adjusting your personality, your opinions, your behavior. Pause. Just to be accepted. A stoic man stands in who he is, regardless of who stays or leaves. Because identity is not something you shape for others. It is something you build within yourself. Never give more than what is reciprocated. Calm but direct. Effort should be mutual. If you're always the one reaching out, always the one planning, always the one giving, pause, then you're not building connection, you're creating imbalance. And imbalance leads to resentment. Give, but observe. If the energy is not returned, adjust accordingly. Soft, reflective tone. At the end of the day, this is not about control over others. It is about control over yourself. Pause. Your standards. Your time. Your emotions. Your energy. These are your responsibilities. And when you protect them, you don't just improve your relationships. You improve your entire life. Firm, composed tone. Because the strongest position you can ever be in is not needing anything from anyone, but still choosing wisely. Slight nod, calm confidence. Calm, composed tone. There's a level most people never reach. Because it requires letting go of the need to be liked. Pause. And embracing the discipline to be respected. Never give instant access to your life. Measured tone. Not everyone who shows interest deserves closeness. Some people are curious. Some are bored. Some are simply passing time. Pause, observant look. Access should be earned, not assumed. A stoic man doesn't rush connection. He observes character, consistency, intention. Because once you let someone too close without understanding them, you risk unnecessary disruption in your life. Never give explanations for every decision. Firm, controlled tone. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to defend your priorities. Slight nod. The more you over-explain, the less confident you appear. A man who knows himself moves with quiet certainty. He speaks when necessary, and remains silent when it's not. Never give attention to what drains you. Serious tone. Attention is a form of currency. Where you place it, grows. If you constantly focus on negativity, drama, or emotional instability, you invite more of it into your life. Pause. But when you redirect your attention to growth, discipline, and purpose, everything begins to change. Guard your focus. It shapes your reality. Never give up your standards out of fear of losing someone. Firm tone. If keeping someone requires you to lower your values, then losing them is not a loss. Pause, intense look. It is alignment. Because the right people don't require you to become less. They respect you for standing firm. A stoic man does not negotiate his core principles. Softer tone, reflective. In truth, most people give too much, too soon. To people who have done too little, to deserve it. Slow breath. And then they feel confused. Drained. Disconnected. Not because they cared, but because they lacked boundaries. Calm, grounded voice. Boundaries are not walls. They are clarity. They show people how to treat you, and what you will not accept. Firm tone. When you live by these principles, you become harder to manipulate, harder to replace, harder to disrespect. Not because you demand it, but because your behavior enforces it. Final calm, confident tone. Stay disciplined. Stay aware. Stay in control. Calm, grounded tone. There is one final layer to this. It's not just about what you refuse to give. Pause. It's about what you become when you stop giving it. You become less reactive and more observant. Steady tone. You start noticing patterns instead of chasing words. You see inconsistency without needing it explained. You recognize effort without demanding it. Slight nod. And that awareness protects you. You become more selective and less emotional. Controlled tone. Not cold, not distant, just clear. You stop entertaining everything. You stop engaging in every conversation. You stop investing in every connection. Pause. Because you understand, not everything deserves your energy. You become calm in situations that once controlled you. Slow, confident tone. Where you once reacted, you now pause. Where you once chased, you now step back. Where you once explained, you now remain silent. Firm look. That silence is not weakness. It is discipline. You stop trying to win people and start choosing them. Measured tone. There's a difference. Trying to win people puts you in a position of approval. Choosing people puts you in a position of control. Pause. A stoic man doesn't compete for attention. He observes and decides. You detach without becoming indifferent. Soft but firm tone. Detachment is not about not caring. It's about not losing yourself in the process of caring. Slow breath. You can value someone without depending on them. You can appreciate someone without needing them. That is emotional independence. Reflective pause. And once you reach this point, you realize something powerful. Calm, steady voice. You were never meant to give everything away. You were meant to build something within yourself. That cannot be easily shaken. Firm, composed tone. Strength is quiet. Discipline is consistent. Respect is earned and maintained. And when you embody these, you don't need to chase attention. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to force anything. Slight nod, confident expression. Because the right people will recognize it. Without you saying a word. Final calm tone. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay in control. Calm, steady tone. At this point, most people expect something dramatic. A final rule. Pause. A final warning. But Stoicism doesn't end with intensity. It ends with clarity. Understand this deeply. Slow, deliberate tone. You cannot control how someone feels about you. You cannot control their effort. You cannot control their consistency. You cannot control their choices. Pause. But you can control your response to all of it. Never give your power to outcomes you can't control. Firm tone. When you attach your peace to someone's behavior, you create instability within yourself. If they reply, you feel good. If they don't, you feel anxious. Slight head shake. That is dependence. A stoic man finds stability within, not outside. Never give importance to what is temporary. Calm tone. Feelings change. Situations shift. People come and go. Pause. But your principles must remain. Because when everything around you is uncertain, your discipline becomes your anchor. Never give up growth for comfort. Serious tone. Comfort feels good in the moment. But growth builds your future. If a situation is keeping you stagnant, distracted, or emotionally unstable, pause, firm look. It's costing you more than it's giving you. A stoic man chooses growth, even when it's uncomfortable. Soft, reflective tone. In the end, this is not about men versus women. Pause. It's about strength versus weakness. Clarity versus confusion. Discipline versus impulse. Calm, grounded voice. When you stop giving away what weakens you, you naturally become someone who attracts better. Not because you try to, but because you've removed what was lowering your value. Firm tone. And that is the shift. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop overgiving. Slight nod. You start observing. You start choosing. You start leading your own life. Final calm, confident tone. Protect your mind. Protect your time. Protect your standards. Everything else will align. Calm, composed tone. And once you truly understand this, you stop seeing situations as losses. Pause. You start seeing them as lessons. Rejection becomes redirection. Steady tone. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life. Some people arrive to test your patience. Some arrive to reveal your weaknesses. Some arrive to show you what you still need to work on. Slight nod. And once their purpose is fulfilled, they leave. A stoic man doesn't resist this. He learns and moves forward. Silence becomes your strength. Low, controlled tone. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. You don't need to win every argument. Pause. Because not every situation deserves your voice. Sometimes, your absence says more than your presence ever could. Distance becomes your protection. Firm tone. When something feels off, it usually is. When effort feels one-sided, it usually is. Pause. And instead of forcing balance, you create space. Space to think. Space to observe. Space to regain clarity. A disciplined man knows when to step back, without making noise. Patience becomes your advantage. Measured tone. Most people rush. They rush emotions. They rush commitment. They rush decisions. Slight smile. And in rushing, they overlook reality. But when you slow down, you see things others miss. You notice inconsistencies. You understand intentions. Time reveals everything. Soft, reflective tone. At a deeper level, you realize something powerful. Pause. You don't need to force connection. You don't need to chase understanding. You don't need to hold on to what doesn't hold you. Firm, grounded tone. Because what is truly aligned with you will not require you to lose yourself to keep it. Slight nod, calm confidence. So you move differently. You speak less, but mean more. You give less, but with intention. You react less, but understand more. Final calm tone. And in that quiet discipline, you find control. You find clarity. You find peace. Calm, grounded tone. Now, bring it all together. This is not a list to memorize. Pause. It's a mindset to live by. When you stop giving away your self-respect, you walk differently. When you stop overgiving your time, you focus differently. When you stop reacting emotionally, you think differently. Slight nod. And when you think differently, you live differently. Discipline becomes your foundation. Firm tone. Not motivation, not emotion, discipline. Because emotions change. Circumstances change. People change. Pause. But discipline keeps you steady, through all of it. Clarity becomes your filter. Measured tone. You no longer entertain confusion. If something feels inconsistent, you step back. If something feels forced, you release it. Slight head shake. Because you understand, peace is never found in chaos. Respect becomes your standard. Calm but firm. Not attention. Not validation. Respect. Pause. And respect starts with how you treat yourself. If you respect your time, others will feel it. If you respect your boundaries, others will see it. If you respect your purpose, others will recognize it. Soft, reflective tone. At the highest level, you stop asking, "What should I give?" And you start asking, "What should I protect?" Slow breath. Your mind. Your energy. Your standards. Your direction. Firm, composed tone. Because once those are protected, you don't just attract better people. You build a better life. Slight nod, confident expression. No noise. No desperation. No confusion. Just clarity, discipline, and control. Final calm tone. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. Stay in control. Calm, steady tone. And when you live like this long enough, you notice something most people never see. Pause. You stop fearing loss. Measured tone. Because you understand. Anything that requires you to lose yourself was never worth keeping. So when someone pulls away, you don't panic. When something ends, you don't chase. Slight nod. You remain centered. You stop seeking constant reassurance. Calm tone. You no longer need to hear what you already know. Your confidence becomes internal. Your validation becomes self-earned. Pause. And that makes you stable, regardless of who stays or leaves. You stop competing for attention. Firm tone. Because you realize attention is temporary. Respect is lasting. Slight intensity. And respect comes from consistency, not performance. So you focus on becoming better, not being seen. You become comfortable with walking away. Controlled tone. Not out of ego. Not out of pride. But out of understanding. Pause. Understanding that your peace is more valuable than any connection built on imbalance. A stoic man doesn't hold on out of fear. He releases, with clarity. Soft, reflective tone. At this level, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain anything. You don't need to force anything. Firm, grounded voice. You simply live with standards. And those standards quietly filter everything around you. People who align, stay. People who don't, leave. Slight nod. And you're at peace with both. Calm, confident tone. Because your life is no longer dependent on external behavior. It is guided by internal discipline. Final steady tone. Protect what matters. Let go of what doesn't. And stay in control of yourself, no matter what. Calm, steady tone. And as you continue living this way, you begin to notice something even deeper. Pause. Your standards start filtering your reality. Measured tone. You no longer need to chase the right people. The wrong ones remove themselves. The right ones feel your presence, and align naturally. Slight nod. Because standards are not about pushing people away. They're about allowing only what fits. You stop reacting to surface behavior, and start understanding intent. Focus tone. Anyone can say the right words. Anyone can act right, for a moment. Pause. But consistency reveals truth. A stoic man watches what repeats, not what is promised. You become harder to manipulate. Firm tone. Guilt no longer moves you. Silence no longer confuses you. Distance no longer controls you. Slight intensity. Because your stability doesn't depend on external actions anymore. It comes from within. You value peace over intensity. Calm tone. You no longer confuse drama with passion. You no longer chase emotional highs, followed by exhausting lows. Pause. You choose calm. You choose clarity. You choose stability. And that choice changes everything. Soft, reflective tone. At this stage, you realize something most people spend years trying to understand. Slow breath. You don't lose people by setting boundaries. You lose illusions. Firm, grounded tone. And illusions are what keep people stuck. Overthinking. Overgiving. Overreacting. Slight nod, composed expression. But once you see clearly, you move differently. You invest wisely. You speak intentionally. You detach when necessary. Final calm, confident tone. No pressure. No chasing. No confusion. Just control, discipline, and quiet strength. Calm, grounded tone. And eventually, it all becomes natural. Pause. Not forced. Not calculated. Just who you are. You no longer struggle to hold your boundaries. Steady tone. What once felt difficult, now feels normal. Saying no becomes easy. Walking away becomes clear. Choosing yourself becomes automatic. Slight nod. Because you've seen what happens when you don't. You trust your judgment more than your emotions. Measured tone. Feelings can be strong, but they are not always accurate. They can pull you toward what feels good, even when it's not good for you. Pause. But judgment, built through experience and discipline, keeps you grounded. A stoic man listens to his emotions, but he follows his principles. You stop trying to fix everything. Calm tone. Not every problem is yours to solve. Not every person is yours to heal. Slight head shake. And the sooner you accept that, the lighter your life becomes. You offer support. But you don't carry what isn't yours. You become comfortable with being misunderstood. Firm tone. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will understand your distance. Not everyone will understand your standards. Pause. And that's okay. Because understanding is not a requirement for you to live with clarity. Soft, reflective tone. At this level, you are no longer reacting to life. You are directing it. Firm, composed tone. You choose where your energy goes. You choose who gets your time. You choose what deserves your attention. Slight nod, confident expression. And those choices shape everything. Final calm tone. Stay disciplined. Stay clear. Stay in control. Follow me for more Stoic wisdom that will help you stay disciplined, focused, and unshaken in every situation.